Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for another Vital tutorial. In this video I'm going to talk to you about an interesting way to make a bass, kind of a pluck bass actually in this case, but it's not necessarily limited to that, which can work at several, if not every possible BPM and in different contexts and also with different metrics. So, since this is gonna be some sort of an insight in the things I do in one of my artistic identities, I thought it was a good idea to give it a different jingle from the ones you heard before. I hope you like it, and so after the jingle, let's get going. So here we are with a nice, not too crowded session in Bitwig with a few rough, not really that well mixed examples of what I mean. Here we have a simple loop at like 130 BPMs or around there. And you can hear this bass here. Or we can go to like say 145. Here with an offbeat bass, and here with a rolling bass. And here we can go a lot faster, which was the actual point. We are at like 185, and if we really feel like, we can even double the kick and the bass. And you will agree that this, well, kind of works. This too. This is kind of dumb, but it still works. And this too. And we're always hearing the same bass, actually. How did I do that? Let's get into it. So here we are again with a simple initialized patch from Vital, and what I want to do is sort of a pluck bass, but it's going to be time or at least tempo dependent. So what I'm going to do is going to get an LFO and set it so that it does the work that I would usually let the envelope do. Now, I could do this with a filter, but it wouldn't probably be the smartest idea. For one reason or another, trying to make a subtractive pluck bass doesn't make it really work too well when you go at higher tempos. So, both for practical and instructional purposes, because you know the typical subtractive pluck bass, yes, it's a classic, it's great, but it's gotten a bit boring. I'm gonna do something different, some sort of an FM, or probably more appropriately phase distortion bass, pluck bass. So I'm gonna get this thing and say FM from oscillator 2, which I set 1 octave below, and I'm gonna give this wavetable some sense. So I'm gonna mostly think in the spectrum, in the spectral domain, in the frequency domain. So here I'm gonna set a frequency filter for this wavetable, actually, which is just a simple saw wave. And here I'm going to close this filter a lot and make it a lot sharper. Does it work? I don't know why. There's this thing with Vital that at times it doesn't show me the animation of what is going on. Yes, now this is basically a sine wave. And here we could get the cutoff just as low, but get the shape to like 1 to the maximum. So it is not really that sharp. And what happens is that we go from sine wave to this sort of a rounded saw. And now this is a little too much. We're going to get a lot less, and we're going to use LFO1 to control it, and then also use LFO1 to control the volume of this oscillator. And then I'm going to go in the mod matrix here and change these maps. So I'm going to flip horizontally. This one is the volume. Now this is like 1/2. It's probably a little too much. Let's go to 1/4. And let's say, okay, this is 1/4. I want this volume to end. Let's start from making a bass which goes in 16ths. So for, for a rolling bass line, so I'll set this, which is basically amplitude envelope in a shape like this. I'm gonna copy it and set it up here and just slightly change it. This is one way to do it. The other way, which somehow would be, I wouldn't say smarter, but more flexible, is to just keep them both linear and then work on the modulation power. This allows you maybe, to control with the macros the curvature of these envelopes, which are some of the most critical parameters in making a sound like this work. So here we are with the patch we have so far. I just inverted this waveform because it made more sense. And let's also not forget to set the phase randomization to 0 so that every note will sound just exactly the same as everyone else, as every other note. So let's start and see how it sounds. And we can do a lot of this and just shaping it until we're happy how we want it to be, which somehow is a great thing, isn't it? Then we can see how it works at higher speeds. And maybe we might want to add some color to this in this case. And it's really up to you here, understanding what is the shape you want, what is that you want to add to your what character you want to give it. Here I did this simple wavetable, but it works. Now, this is as far as we were talking about the BPMs, but we only made one sound and it only articulates on 1/16. And this you can do in Vital, but you can also do in Serum in the exact same way, except for the fact that you can't use the mod remapping, but you will have to set, 2 LFOs to do that, or you can do it in phase plant with the curve modulators. Actually, I think you can do it basically in lots of other synths. Any synth that allows you to set an LFO in one-shot mode and let it work. In this case, I didn't even set them to one-shot to envelope mode, but that was kind of secondary in this case, since I'm not holding a note long enough for it to make a difference. So this is the thing for now. But what if we wanted to have, different articulations, not just do that 16 thing, but also do something else? Well, we can pick a MIDI parameter of our choice. I will go for the velocity because it just seems logical to use the velocity for doing this, and say, okay, let's get here, and I'm saying again, LFO1, the same LFO1 as before, is again modulating oscillator 1 distortion amount by approximately the same amount as before. And it is also modulating the oscillator 1 volume. Again, basically by the maximum. And I'm gonna make it, well, completely different. I'm just gonna make 2 different metrics just because it will be quicker. It would take a lot to do many of those. So in this case, what do we have? We have this one is our volume envelope, and let's say we want to make it something completely different from the bass we had before. Not at all something akin to block bass, but something whoopy or wumpy, something different, radically different. So I'm gonna do something like this here and make this thing have a curve, and then copy and paste it here. Now this I might want to behave slightly differently. I might need to hear how I want it to sound, but let's see. So I'm gonna just copy this thing here and paste it here so that I have another copy of that. And then here I'm gonna make my own MIDI, my own bass MIDI. So this one is going to be slightly different. Let's go again. It's going to be somewhere in D, and say I get one note this long, and you say you hadn't worked with the whole velocity thing yet. I know. I have to. And say I get it doing this, and then that, and then that again. Say. Let's say I'll just have this thing and have this thing repeat twice. Nothing that extraordinary, really. But so, what am I going to do here? I'm going to set the velocity of this to be very low and the velocity of this to be very low. So, what is going to happen here? I'm going to get these things and do a sort of a velocity switching. So I have the velocity, and I will need a lot of these actually. So I'm going to have the velocity controlling the amount of all these modulations. And make it very, relevant. So now I'm gonna get these things to be all at 0. So this is modulation 4 amount. I want it to be, I said modulation 5. The velocity is modulating the modulation from a velocity. Not really. Modulation 4 amount, not modulation 5. So this is gonna be to the max, and this one too is gonna be to the max, and these are gonna go to 0. This one and that one, the 3 and 1, are going to go somewhere around here, and these are going to go to 0. And now I'm going to need to remap this. So these two, so like this one is modulating modulation 1 and modulation 2. So we're talking about the highest velocity notes. So I'm going to make this like, hey, add me a point, please. Thanks. So I'm gonna make this like a square wave, even though it's not really a square, like a step. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here, but I'm gonna flip it. So now what happens? When the velocity is low, we are having these two modulations, and when the velocities are high, we're having those other modulations. And we have it. It's not really the nicest, the smartest bass line I could think of, not by far, but you see, it works. You see, I'm having my bass do exactly what I wanted it to do. So let's say we wanted to make it even shorter. Not that shorter. It's gonna be not really sensible to that done like this. I just wanted to make it small enough so that we could hear just one of the variants. Anyway, this is the idea. But you see, this choice of a wavetable is kind of arbitrary if you think about the timbre thing. And I have tried using several. In this case, I just said something, working with different amount of harmonics, just increasing and decreasing them, but it's basically a simple saw wave. I could go and get, say, whatever, some complex articulated whatever wavetable and see what comes out of it. Get something completely different. You can go and make it as complicated as you want, as fast as you want. of course it stops making sense. Yes, if you were wondering, the kick too is scaling with the tempo. So this is the idea. In the patch I was showing you earlier, I was just having 3 different plucks at different velocities, but you can really go and enjoy yourself and make as many variants if you want. It's just a little bit time consuming to program. I've made a couple of templates for it, and I'm quite sure I'm gonna put them in my upcoming pack for Vital, which again I'll be very happy to share as soon as Metitel makes the 1.5 available for everyone. I hope this is soon. So this is it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned something. The whole idea of making a tempo-dependent bass patch is not new. I'm not the first to talk about it in YouTube, but well, it was worth as an introduction for talking about the rest. So hopefully you found this interesting, and in case you did, or well, if you didn't, why are you still here? Because usually the people don't look like 20 minutes of my videos if they don't like it. So you're either masochistic or you like it. So since you're still here, for one reason or another, please consider subscribing and you will have more of me talking about synths on your everyday feed. So lovely, isn't it? Beyond this, if you're interested in what I do with my music, in particular the stuff, this thing comes from as my secret artistic identity as Eùoè with the Labyrinthine Crew, and you can go and check. There's an album out, and there's going to be another one pretty soon, and there's other music I do, other stuff I do. Anyway, there's a link to my Linktree, and there's lots of stuff there you can find for your enjoyment and listening pleasure. All this said, I thank you for your attention, and bye.